Okay, so we're in the mighty Midas Letter Toyota Highlander, and we're on our way to visit two locations of Canadian LPs, Hexo and CannTrust. And the purpose of our mission here is to find out exactly...
If we choose to accept it.
If we choose to accept it, which clearly we already have since we're on the way back.
Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible.
I think... The purpose of the mission is to observe the level of activity at both facilities to make a determination as to whether what the future might hold for both of these companies. CannTrust, obviously, we're interested to figure out whether they're going to get their license back, and therefore perhaps it's a buy. In Hexo's case, they've announced that they're shutting down the Beamsville plant, but we want to see what level of activity is still going on there to get a sense of how much money is still flowing out the door at Hexo's expense by this facility. And so that's what we're going to find out. And come along with us on this magic carpet ride. That doesn't bother you? You're not a music guy?
Well, I like certain kinds of music. Like, I'm more interested in...
Jazz music?
Classical.
Oh.
Yeah. I like the Russian music, like Prokofiev and Shostakovich.
Oh.
The guy says to me today as I go into the coffee shop there and I grab some Viet napkins. He says, sorry, I can't give you, I'll get a coffee on the train. He says, sorry, I can't give you a napkin. They didn't give me any. I said, no, I brought my own. So where do we go down? We go down to 427, right?
Yeah. No, we're going to go down the QEW.
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant to say. Jesus.
And then we'll stop. We're going to go visit Hexo's Beamsville plant, which was formerly Up Cannabis, owned by New Strike Resources. They sold it to Hexo for $260 million. And less than a year later, Hexo shut her down. I don't like it when people honk. It's like it doesn't achieve anything except an elevation of the tension levels in the... Okay. Normally I would go down Simcoe, but...
Why don't you go down to Spadina, a good choice?
Yeah, Spadina's good. I mean, the great thing is that we're not trying to get anywhere in a hurry. Well, theoretically, we're trying to get back here by 2:30, so we have 2.5 hours, which means we're basically going to get down there, drive around, do a shot, go to the next one, drive around, do a shot.
That's an hour late, right?
That is.
So you got 3.5 hours to get there and back.
So then we would, actually I should do that right now. Hey Siri, call Nailink Ja.
James West.
Dr. Ja.
My hero.
I've got you on speakerphone. We're in the Midas Letter mobile studio, and we're going to drive around CannTrust's facility and Hexo's Beamsville facility to shoot some footage of dormant cannabis facilities. And I just thought I'd give you a shout and see if we could. Are you in at your operation today, and would it be convenient to stop by for a quick on-camera interview?
I'm actually in my office in Vaughan.
Oh.
But if you do want to stop by, I can give you a lot of good footage today. I mean, as the rest of the industry goes into receivership, we're getting stronger every day at Green Release. We've had some good things happen. So I'll leave it to you guys. I don't know if that's good. I think CannTrust is in Vaughan, aren't they?
Well, there is a CannTrust in Vaughan, but we're going to the one in Niagara, the 425,000 square foot one.
it's quite interesting. I just had a meeting with the software company that controls 70% of the LPs.
Yes.
Almost every one of them is going into receivership. I've been going up and down the supply chain. So we've been choking, at Greenleaf, we've been choking everybody in the supply chain right now. We've been getting biomass at like just ridiculous rates, bringing it in. We're increasing our distribution through non-clinic. All of those clinics like Cannabo, Apollo, they're all going into receivership. The government puts so much regulation on this industry between third-party testing, clinics, poor operators, no strategic vision. I don't even know if the Canadian cannabis market's going to survive.
Wow.
Anyways, those are some teaser clips for you, buddy.
There you go. Well, we just recorded it, so all good.
You guys are, you know what? If you recorded that, then please put in the part where I said you're my hero as well.
Okay. Awesome, Nilank. I appreciate it. Okay, great. Well, we'll talk to you soon then.
Okay, thanks, James.
Thanks, bye. That's interesting. So Green Relief is going strong, having stayed private. Can you imagine had they gone public like everybody else?
No kidding.
And they'd be blowing out shares at ever cheaper prices. And it's interesting that the companies that rushed to go public have now had their asses handed to them, although this is day 3 of a recovery, which 5 in a row, and I think that constitutes a reversal, wouldn't you say, Ed? From your
Well, you know what? It like generally when things snap back, like usually the main trend is opposite to the sharp moves. Like if this was a bull market, we may be going up slowly, but because it's moving so fast, it smacks of short covering. In my estimation,
so it could
we'll
be
see.
a dead cat bounce, and we're going to get.
Look at we even said it last week and said, there's nothing that looks like this. And I said, listen, this is when rallies start, and they do, and they all but you know what, we're already moved up in some cases, almost 50%.
So what portion of the market do you think was short, though? I mean, if it is a big short cover rally,
it's just the volume. I mean, like, if the shorts are. They don't have to be that big. They just need to be desperate to cover.
Right.
And so they're just, throwing orders in. And once they've shot their load, so to speak.
Oof. There's that expression again.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I'm watching weed very carefully, and OGI is up huge, and acreage is up like 80-90 cents today.
What about CannTrust?
Let's take a look here.
Oh, yes.
It's 130 to 131, up 10 cents, so up 8.8% today. And I think that got down to, what, $1.10 or something like that?
CannTrust?
Or lower.
Yeah, sorry, what is CannTrust at?
119. Oh, sorry. Looking at the wrong one. CannTrust is at 130 to 131, up 10.5 cents on piddly 380,000 shares. So this is not... there's no change there.
Oh, no, this is good.
You're in the right lane.
Yeah, was.
Okay.
Reading those signs up there.
Weed is now at $3.60 to $27.10. Wow. I'm looking for. You know what? You could have bought a few thousand shares of this weed at, say, even 19, and been out at 25, and you would have had a nice little Christmas. Mm-hmm. Now it looks like lumps of coal.
Well, there's an awful lot of ground to be regained if the market was to continue on the bull phase.
Well, and the bigger the move, generally, it takes a little time to work that off. So it's not going to be a straight up and straight down.
Right.
My guess is it's going to be up. Maybe up again on Monday a little bit, and then it's going to start to lose steam, and then it'll roll over.
Right.
But anything you ever say is a probability, so there's not 100%. It's not 100% likely that it's going to happen, but something like that.
That's a little extreme, though, for a mere traffic infraction.
Happens all the time.
Really?
There's a story about a pretty big lawyer who cut off a guy in L.A., and the guy wouldn't let it up, and he finally said, listen, I can't, listen, why don't you just fuck yourself, leave me alone. The guy pulled a gun and killed him.
A lawyer?
A prominent lawyer from London, Ontario was in LA and was shot and killed because he argued with a guy that was pissed off that the lawyer cut him off.
Did the guy go to jail?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it happened 20, 25 years ago.
Really? Did you know the guy?
No, but my friends tell a story all the time and say, when you're in the States, don't argue.
Yeah.
Look at Weed MD was down to $1. It's back to $1.20. Everything's getting a good run here.
What about Hexo? Because we're going to visit Hexo's.
Hexo is up nicely. It's 305, up 51 cents, 3.5 million. That's up. Hexo's up basically 20% today.
Mm-hmm. Boy, they must have a bounce in their step today.
Yeah, but the problem with this is if you're in much higher than that, and it just gets to here, you're thinking like, I'm kissing my sister here.
Kissing your sister?
Well,
That smacks of incest.
Yeah, well, I don't know about, I'm just saying, it's not quite the same, right?
Do you have a sister, Ed?
As a matter of fact, I do.
Really? Do you ever see her?
A little bit, I haven't seen her for a few years.
Oh.
But she's down in the Windsor area. She's got 3 children, and I think she's got 2 grandchildren now. She's right in the old, the traditional family situation.
Oh, okay. So were you guys close? What's the age difference?
3 years exactly. You're born on the same day.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Huh. So 3 years older or younger?
Younger.
And she's been married to the same fella for
British guy. Yeah. They've been married for probably 35, maybe 40. They've been together for a long time. Yeah, he's a British fella.
Oh.
He's got a Billingsgate accent, like a Cockney. Cockney.
What's that sound like?
Well, when you buy one of our hamburgers, you get 3 free toppings. Anyway.
That's pretty good.
Toppings.
3 free toppings.
3 free toppings.
That does sound like a bit of a deal.
Like it's...
is it like a southern twang in American speak?
The point of it is, wow, it's going to be mild now for at least 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. Oh, here comes another little traffic jam. That's what I like about not being in a hurry is the traffic jams are mere annoyances.
So what time do we have to leave to get back by 2:30?
Well, we want to be on the James N. Allen Skyway by 1:30.
Is that the name of it?
James and Allen Skyway.
Wow.
Yeah, that's funny. Every time we go to the farm, we cross the James and Allen Skyway, and on the shore of Lake Erie, about 30 kilometers to the west, is James and Allen Park. So
Jesus.
Yeah. So we sort of feel like this is meant to be.
Yeah. That was a nice little work there.
Yeah. I was doing mass coke last night.
Really?
No. Look, there's a Tesla.
I can't hear it.
No, I can't hear it.
Actually, you know what? I took a... Have you ever been one?
I have, yes.
So I rented one. No, I didn't rent it. I took a ride. They had the SUV Teslas that you could shuttle you from Palm Springs to LA. And I got in it. And the one thing I noticed is that it's quiet, but it's not that quiet because there's the road noise of the tires, which is very similar to this.
Well,
you can't hear this engine.
No.
So that's a bit of a bullshit thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so quiet.
Yeah.
Well, stop to pull over to the side. It's quiet.
Well, there's lots of bullshit sound bites surrounding electric cars, really. Did you know that they have yet to figure out a way to recycle lithium-ion batteries at the end of their life? And they're toxic. Full of heavy metals. They're like it's just a step above nuclear waste.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's that. And then there's the whole argument about, where does the electricity come from? If the entire mobile fleet in the world was to be electrified, there's not enough hydroelectric power or solar or wind to meet that demand. You'd have to crank up the old natural gas and coal.
And heavy oil from Lloydminster.
Not only that, but electric cars are not financially economic for most people without government subsidies. And this artificially depressed price of lithium, when it ends, is going to drive the cost of batteries much higher.
I guess the trick is to find out when it ends.
Well, that would be, if somebody could send me an email and say, tomorrow the artificially low price of lithium caused by Goldman Sachs publishing self-interested short research is over and they're now going to go long, then that would be a valuable email.
Well, I'm looking at the HMMJ as a barometer here because it's listed, and it's 10:06 to 10:12. Pretty sure it got down to 840, and that's not going to move as much as an individual stock because that's just the way it is.
Yeah. It moves with much more latency on the entire
if it's a
sector.
1 for 1. If it's a 3 for 1, then you're going to get some action. Yeah. Okay. Well, here, look at this. PLTH, Planet Hollywood, back to 222. That's hung in there. I think they're getting a lot of traffic up at that store in Las Vegas.
Yeah. How are the U.S. MSOs doing today? Trulieve, Greenthumb,
Okay.
Charlotte's Web.
Trulieve is 1681. Look at this. Up 14 cents. So you know what? People are looking for what I guess they're looking for bargains, right? Because Trulieve never really fell that much. Then maybe they don't think there's the snap back.
Well, 16 and what is the price?
1683. It's up less than 1%. It's up less than 1%.
Its 52-week high is 20 and change, isn't it?
Yeah.
So there you go. It hasn't really suffered, and so it doesn't have that much torque built into the upward rally price.
Organigram, on the other hand, up 61 cents or 18.6% as we speak.
What about Greenthumb Industries, GTII?
Oh, I don't even have that on my system. Let me just take a look here. GTII in Canada or US?
Canada.
1338 to 1340, last at 1340, up 57 or 4.4%.
Okay. How about MedMen?
Now that's MMEN.
Yep.
I can remember some of the symbols.
Some of them are a little more intuitive than others.
MedMen, 93 to 94.
Oof.
Last at 94, up a nickel.
Oof.
6% on about 750,000 shares.
Oof. That one's not really participating.
Well,
in the rally.
weed looks like lots of cash. Let's take a look at Kronos because Kronos also has a lot of cash. So let's see what the move from the bottom to the top is there. We can do a quick comparison.
So Kronos Group.
1013, up 101, up 11% on 2 million. So that's. I'm going to put up a quick chart here, which I'm going to do. That's up 10% today, and let's see where it was 3 days ago. And when we'll do a quick comparison of Kronos and weed. So it looks like you could have bought this thing at $8. Okay, so you could have bought it for around 8 Canadian. It's now 10 Canadian. Okay, so 2 on 8 is 25%. It's a little better than that, actually. Sorry, it's 10 and a quarter. Let's call it a 2 on 8, a little better than that. Let's say close to 30% move. whereas weed has moved up 50%. 50% in 3.5 days, 4 days.
50%.
From 18 to 27.
Well,
duh.
that's why it's the bellwether.
What do you mean you can't trade the marijuana space? The trick would have been to just to wait. But, man, my buddy Jay, I won't go into his last name, but Jay said to me he was getting ready middle of last week to step in on the HMMJs because he said the sector was so oversold and he was off by about half a day. And, but what? People know that if it keeps going in one direction and there's something there, the shorts get a little spooked and they'll start covering, and that'll bring in more buyers. Anyway, I see it for what it is.
So how about Harvest Health and Recreation? HARV.
Okay. I feel like a DJ playing requests.
Yeah.
Hey,
a jukebox.
Yeah, I haven't heard Harvest in a long time. What year was that published? 388 to 390.
Okay.
Up 27%. Sorry, 27 cents or 8%. Big volume there, 2.3 million shares. I guess if there's also a lot of shares in the float, that could also act as a bit of an impediment too, couldn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting to me, but so far the pattern I'm seeing is that the American MSOs with super voting structures governing their capital structure are participating less in the recovery and have suffered doubly during the downturn. So like MedMen has lost 80% of its value, 85% of its value. Harvest Health and Recreation has lost 75% of its value. Acreage Holdings, what's Acreage Holdings at?
Well, that's a big mover today, okay? That's a big mover. I guess that would be like a BM. Big mover.
BM.
A big mover.
Wow.
Oh, I thought a BM was bowel movement. I did. I really did. So when you have so let's say you have a BM, what you're having is a big mover.
Well, you could say that that's an adequate term for a bowel movement too.
Well, you should just say BM squared or BM times 2. Bowel movement, big mover.
Hey, can you pull over? I need to have a BM.
Big mover.
Find me a truck stop
I'm a big
with
mover.
a big toilet for a BM.
Okay, here we go. Acreage. Wow, this is a nice one. Up $1.06 to $6.18, traded in U.S. funds, correct?
Yes.
$6.18.
Wow.
Up $1.06. That's 20% move today. Okay. Look at this volume. Look at this volume.
That's tracking
350,000 shares only. You know why? Because this thing is tighter than a
mouse's ear. Nuns. So, Acreage is closely mimicking Canopy. Up 50%.
Okay, so wait a minute. So if Canopy, wait a minute. Now, where was Acreage 3 days ago?
4 and change.
Okay, I'm gonna do my own little do dilly. Okay. It got to 390. 390. There's your another 50% mover. So the only two 50% movers I've seen so far are Acreage, and I'll bet you the ones that have held well, no big moves.
We just passed Unifor on strike over there.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Okay, so 6. Yeah, you know what? Acreage, but wow. Acreage, green acreage. Okay, let's take a look here. What else you want to know, young fella?
Charlotte's Web.
Okay.
C-Web.
Yeah. Oh, I got that in a different location. Okay, C-Web, 1682 to 1686 as we speak, up 89 cents or 6%. Wow, look at that, hardly any volume. I mean, not that I would, it's 325,000 shares, but it's not like, let me just take a look here. I want to see the volume. Biggest volume trader, Aurora.
Aurora, that makes sense.
Shows 44 million.
What's the price?
$3.
Ooh, really?
Up 34 cents. Sorry, yeah, up 34 cents, 13%.
Wow.
Well, this is a green day, no question. Look, I don't think this is the beginning of a new bull market. I'm more inclined to believe it's a short cover rally, which got extra momentum when Bank of America said, we think the bottom's in for... And listen, I've been there. I was short Amazon back in 2004 when it was at $7, thinking it was going to zero. and some analysts came out and said, this is a buy of a lifetime. And it moved the stock about $2.
Well, so do you think that Bank of America's research combined with Trulieve's excellent quarter were basically the main drivers? Well, plus you had the highly misinterpreted the Democratic committee that was looking at whether cannabis should be prohibited, recommended that the activity to move the agenda forward for that continue. Mind you, that means that there's going to be a vote in the House, which is Democratic controlled, on the initiative, which will likely succeed. But then it goes to the Senate. And the Senate is Republican controlled, correct?
The Senate is Republican controlled, correct.
And the Republicans, what are the chances are that the Republicans will let a Democratic legalized cannabis initiative federally succeed in the year of an election?
They say that there's never been more bipartisan politics than now. So I don't know if that answers your question, but it would seem...
it does.
Yeah, it does.
It's never going to happen. So I think that there's a lot of false...
The only thing that they would both agree on is if the Democrats said, we would like you guys to stay in power forever, and I think the Republicans might say, okay. They might say, wait a minute now, something's wrong.
What do you think of Saudi Aramco's chances with its IPO?
I think that a lot of commentators have been saying they've missed the window. They should have done this a year ago or 2 years ago. But it's funny, people generally are not proactive, they're reactive.
I would agree.
I'm one of those reactive types. But then again, that's how you should trade if you're a short-term trader. You should wait for something to happen, and then instead of trying to predict when it happens, because it doesn't work that way. You could, if we were waiting for the price of copper to turn, we could be waiting for forever.
Sure.
Especially if they start sucking the copper out of those nodules.
So tell me about the details, Ed, where Hexo laid off some people and closed the Beamsville operation, because we're almost there. We're going to drive around it and see what the activity is.
Okay, so I'm going to read the press release, but since I have auto rotate, I think I'll look at it this way so I can see the whole.
That's one hell of an idea.
This came out October 28th.
Okay.
It said its Saturday edition at Hexo, Globe and Mail, which was at 311 at the time, which is where it's at sort of right now, is winding down its operations at its greenhouse in Beamsville, Ontario as part of its cost-cutting moves. A Canadian press dispatch to the Globe reports that the Niagara area greenhouse belonged to New Strike Brands, a licensed producer backed by members of the Tragically Hip band, which Hexo acquired in May. A spokesman for Hexo said it acquired New Strike for its brand and distribution channels, and the facility in Beamsville provided additional supply. Isabelle Robillard added in an email that given Hexo is right-sizing its operations, it is right-sizing, not downsizing, right-sizing. It is winding down operations in a Niagara region facility. So the question I would say is that they should have done it in the first place.
Well,
Hexo did not answer questions about how many employees at the Beamsville facility were affected, but the management said, I can assure you, our jobs are safe. I didn't say that.
Management assured them that their jobs were safe?
Yeah. No, management's jobs.
Right.
No, that was a joke. Okay.
Oh, I see.
Hexo did not answer questions about how many employees at the Beamsville facility were affected, but last week, the Gatineau-based firm announced that it was reducing staff by approximately 200 jobs across the board. Ms. Robillard said that Hexo is not winding down operations at any of its other locations.
All right.
Wow.
Well, let's take a cruise by and see what we can see.
Interesting. Hexo's now up 95 cents. Look at this thing. This thing's on fire.
Hexo's up 95 cents?
Yeah.
I wonder if
that's a big move.
I wonder if it's because we're like 100 meters away from their Niagara facility that they shut down, that the stock is running.
Rumor is Midas Letters in the area.
So this doesn't look shut down. Those fans are turning awfully quick. This is the old
Wow, look at the size of this
cannabis facility that was purchased by Hexo for $260 million.
This would be security here.
Oh, I see. Let's just pull off. That doesn't look exactly shut down, but I don't see any cannabis growing.
Well, they're growing in the buildings, right?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, but I'm looking through that glass over there. I don't see any green
What glass?
on the side of the greenhouse.
This one?
Yeah.
How would you see it?
Well, it's opaque. It's not solid.
Oh.
If there was tall green plants in there, I'd be able to see it.
Maybe it's the windows are too high.
Well, that's true, but also this is the facility Hexo announced shutting down, so there shouldn't be anything in there.
They paid that much money for it, and then they shut her down.
Yeah. That's what we refer to as an albatross in the investment industry.
Jeez. Oh, this guy's coming down here. See that?
Yeah.
He's got a gun. Like he's got two guns. Not a lot of signs up though, are there? Oh, here comes a vehicle now. We got to get the hell out of the way.
We're not. Anybody can get around this. Oh, we got to move, Stephen, I think.
So this would just be, all the operation would be inside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what was it before? That was where News Strike was going to...
Yep.
And how the hell did News Strike get the money to build this thing?
They bought it as is. It wasn't purpose built.
You know, the other thing that you'd have to say is that most of the people around the cannabis space aren't really business people.
That's for sure. They're mostly promoters.
Promoters and ne'er-do-wells.
And hangers on.
Lower than the belly of a gutter snipe. Gutter snipe, that's when you're down out that low, that's pretty low. You gonna go down that road?
Maybe. I do see security.
What, are they looking at us?
Did you shoot any of security?
I didn't get them.
Okay, so we'll get them coming back.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere down here.
No, that doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, use the rail track. Now, if anybody's coming the other way, play chicken with them.
I'd have to. Oh, there's not a way to get off of there.
Jesus, I don't want to get stuck, okay?
Don't you worry. This old mighty 4x4 does a lot of things that other vehicles just can't do.
There's nothing really stopping for anybody from going by and taking footage, right?
No. So they still got security hanging around. Oh, security guys split. Yeah, let's get a nice slow drive by
of cars
this whole
over there.
thing. Yeah, there's a lot of cars there for a shutdown operation. I would say it's safe to say that this facility is still bleeding Hexo's financial resources, wouldn't you say, Edward?
Well, yeah.
But I don't see any plants growing in there. I guess the shutdown doesn't happen immediately. Does the press release say exactly when it's going to happen?
Nope.
Okay, there's fans spinning over here, which suggests there's still plants growing in there. So the question is, what's growing in there? Those are some awfully tall gutters. I bet you it's
maybe
green
they're
beans.
growing Brussels sprouts.
I bet you it's green beans and peppers, judging by the height of the gutters. All right, so Hexo still has some cash flow going out the door at Beamsville, don't you know? Would you say that's a fair assessment, Edward?
I don't know if you can unequivocally state that based on what we've seen. I mean, I couldn't draw that conclusion, that's for sure.
Well, what would all those cars be doing there? They've rented it out for a...
Hoping that they get paid until Christmas.
Well, that's... So there you go. I'd say the cars were evidence of activity. The fans turning are signs of activity.
I know.
And
but
actual...
I think you want to come to a conclusion that fits what you want to believe, but did you see any pot?
That's not true at all.
Did you see any pot?
I didn't see any but. There was no but I had no preconceptions. That's why I'm doing this trip, is to find out.
Okay. Well, you could say, hey, we saw cars, we saw security, we saw,
lots of activity.
Lots of activity.
Fans spinning.
There's transports all over the place.
Guys coming and going.
Loading.
Security rushing out to see what the hell we wanted. The wording of the press release, it's not clear. Does that mean they're going to shut it down on October 31st and send everybody home and put gates up, or is it more of a slower process that is going to impact the balance sheet? That's what I'm trying to figure out by doing this trip. So driving by there, I've got a good sense that there's still cash going out the door to maintain or to shut down this property.
Right.
Now our next stop, CannTrust Niagara operation, which was, I believe it was 400 to 450,000 square feet, which was the main location where they found the company to be in violation of the rules of Health Canada by growing in rooms that were not in fact licensed for growing. So CannTrust seems like it's going to be getting its licenses back, doesn't it?
I mean, what harm was done?
None. Well, except to investors.
Well, you know what? If the government's involved in something, you know it's going to fuck up. Because there's no skin in the game. Governments never have skin in the game, so they don't give a shit. They arbitrarily make decisions just because they think it'll get more votes. It's got nothing to do with what the fuck. It's all bullshit.
So CannTrust's last announcement was that...
I'll read it.
Yeah.
I'm your sort of manning the...
You're our narrator.
Aerator.
Narrator. Okay, so this place is coming up on the right here.
Last press released by Trust. It stocks $1.30, $1.31 as we speak, ladies and gentlemen. Nice volume, 2.1 million. Okay, let's see. News. FP says Hex rivals here, Health Canada overwhelmed. That's CannTrust Holdings has no material changes.
There's CannTrust over there. Is that CannTrust? No, incorrect.
Okay, the last thing they said that looks like any consequence at $1.62, October 28th, Financial Post says CannTrust Holdings lays off more people. That's the last one.
When was that?
Well, that was on October 28th.
October 28th.
Men,
What's going on here?
what's going on here?
Fuck, is that a cop? They
Yep.
heard that we were shooting.
Shooting past you.
Okay, well that's definitely CannTrust.
Well, you know, you'd never think that was a cop.
It's not a cop, it's a contractor.
There you go.
And it's very active indeed. There's no way you could call that a dormant facility.
No, sir.
What the hell is going on here?
Look at this facility.
Oh no, I'm going.
But you know, the security gate's right open. Okay, watch yourself, James. Watch the cars.
Work. Start. Okay, Victoria. Just where we came from. Okay, there we go.
That's it?
So that was definitely not a dormant facility.
No.
So obviously, if I was a betting man, I would be buying CannTrust. And I would not be buying Hexo. I'd be selling Hexo and buying CannTrust. What's CannTrust at right now, Ed?
$1.30.
$1.30. I'm going to buy $10,000 worth of CannTrust. Let's talk about Aurora. Recently, your financials, you've more or less delivered on
Here are the
what?
headlines moving markets today.
If you're lucky to buy it 3 days ago at 37 cents,
I think it has a lot to do with some of these smaller names giving really...
Recreational cannabis is here. It's quite dry. So I'm going to eliminate the stocky bits.
welcome back. We're here. We are in Studio A, downtown Toronto. Nothing like a good old-fashioned road trip. And now we're going over to Studio B, and we're going to hear from James and Eric.
Take it away already.
Take it away. So I'm here with Eric Entz, who is with Fluorotech, and Fluorotech is the maker of this funky-ass device, which, what do we call this?
A complete test.
A complete test. But what does it actually do, Eric?
So what we're going to do with it today is we're taking your homegrown weed and we're going to test it for both THCA and CBDA.
And we're going to see exactly what the content of each is, down to what level of refinement.
10% relative. So what that means is if you're growing something with both 10% THCA and 10% CBDA, we don't expect a margin greater than 1% either way. If it was 5%, 0.5 either way, 20%.
Oh, very cool. Okay, so let's let her rip.
Yeah, let's do it. All right, so we've already kind of started because the CBDA test does take a little bit of time to get going here. So what I've done is I've pre-prepared everything, kind of Martha Stewart Fisher priced it. So we've got the CBDA buffer solution warming in there. Once that's done, I'm gonna add a little bit of your cannabis extract that I've mixed into this vial here with some buffer solution. I'm gonna run that through the test.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna add the dye. Now that's the secret sauce, really. That's what does everything special. The dye bonds to the CBDA molecules, and then the THCA dye obviously to the THCA molecules, the carboxylate groups actually. And when we fire a green wavelength laser through one of our scopes through it, it fluoresces, the scope takes the measurement, and that's how we identify what % of what is in your cannabis.
Very cool. And how long does the whole test take?
Start to end, if you're doing CBD and THC, about 30 minutes. Just THCA rather, about five minutes is how I'd say.
Very cool.
Yeah, so
right.
we're about 13 seconds before actually getting to a little bit of science.
Yeah. And so what is the purpose of this device?
The main purpose really is for growers, cultivators to understand their product completely. Now, whenever we have a new client or new customer, they find new reasons for it. We're currently out west doing a pheno hunt with a customer.
Pheno hunt?
Yes.
What's that?
Basically, they're determining their best genetics to turn into mothers. And they've got 40 different strains they're growing right now, cultivars they're growing right now, and determining what going forward should be their offering, their anchors.
Very cool.
And then we recently started work with another client who's using it actually to detect deficiencies in their grow room where there might be microclimates, where there might be lighting issues that they don't know. So they're testing their rows, they're taking a test from the middle and end of each row and determining if they have any deficiencies in their grow room.
So now, is this only usable for dried cannabis?
Right now, dry cannabis is the way to go. We do have some tests coming out for oils and extracts in the near future.
I'm interested in testing the THC and CBD content of the various constituent parts of the plant after the whole plant has finished its cycle. Like, I'm interested in knowing what is the THC of the outermost stems on the lowest branches on the 5th week of bud, like, and tracking those variations on a graph, because I suspect there's intelligence in there somewhere that
exactly
can be
right.
made valuable.
Now, something else is what you have the OCS out here. I'm from Alberta, so we have a little bit of a different system. But on the OCS website, doesn't it give you a range of like 10 to 20% what you might be getting when you order from them?
It typically, yeah. Well, actually, no. The range is usually within 5%. In my experience, although I haven't really been on the the Ontario Cannabis Store for a while, because they don't have anything I like, and I grow my own, which is
right. So, but wouldn't you want to be a bit more understanding of what you're buying? So if you could look on the OCS website and see that variation, but then have a bit of marketing that says bottom of the plant tests at this, middle of the plant tests at this, top of the plant tests at this. Separate your quads from your boofy mids.
Yeah, right. Boofy meds. That's that a new term?
No, it's not a new term. All right, and we are just about coming to the midpoint of the CBDA test. We've got about 10 minutes of buffer time after I add this dye in. Okay. And then the THCA test takes 5 minutes. So.
Okay, so we'll come back in just a few minutes, and but right now, here's Alan Brock. Is it Alan Brockstein? No, sorry. Here's Bruce Campbell from Stonecastle Investment Management with the Stonecastle Investment Management Cannabis Weekly Update. Well, everybody, it's time for the Stonecastle Investment Management Cannabis Week Update, and as usual, Bruce Campbell, Portfolio Manager of Stonecastle Investment Management, joins me today for the update. Bruce, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a wild week, that's for sure.
It's been a long and wild week, yes, indeed. Let's start with the bounce in the cannabis stocks, the rally that has now come to a sort of fizzle. What caused it? What drove it? Was it a dead cat bounce? What do you think?
I mean, I think there was a couple of different variables that were going on. On Monday, we were making some calls around to different desks on the street, and we did sort of anecdotally get some word that some of their clients who had been short were starting to cover, which at the time seemed interesting given that the stocks were all down on the day. And then as we moved into to Tuesday and we started to see some of the numbers coming out of the U.S. from the cannabis producers, then the market started to move up. And I think it was probably a bit of that short covering rally continued through, for the next couple of days. And then, as of today, the Friday, we're seeing a reversal. So it does look like it's just been just purely technical move where, people who had been short were seeing better numbers or improved numbers, and then they started to cover some of their short positions, and that could also be, sort of coincided with some of the news out of the U.S. from a legislative standpoint as well, where the Judicial Committee in the U.S. had moved forward this MORE Act, which, there was lots of media attention on it, but, it kind of almost looked like it was supposed to be actual legislation, but it's not. It's just moving it to the House for the potential of advancing it to legislation.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about some of those earnings. I guess the most impressive one was Trulieve, reporting 55 cents a share in net income.
Yeah, sure. I mean, they've been pretty dominant in Florida, even from the get-go. When they first went public, I think they had over an 85% market share. They continue to, have a real high market share. They've got good margins, and they're really showing you what the potential is there. And I mean, Florida's not even full rec yet; it's just strictly medical, and they're bringing on patients like crazy in that state. And Trulieve obviously is a leader there. They've started to expand out into other areas, but Florida's really their bread and butter still.
Right. Okay. And Greenthumb Industries, not quite as impressive as I had hoped.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line wasn't probably as impressive. They still continue to see, massive percentage growth on the top line. And the thing that you got to keep in mind here is the fact that, they're doing this in still a business that's federally illegal. and there's only limited states that they can operate in. So when down the road, when we start to see legalization happen, if that's 6 months, 2 years, 5 years time frame, you'll really see the earnings power of these companies.
Right. Okay, and finally, Curaleaf.
Yeah, Curaleaf's numbers were strong as well. I mean, certainly when you compare them to what happened in Canada with Canadian numbers, and you can see what the potential is. The thing that I found most interesting from the Curaleaf numbers was one of the interviews I saw in the media of the management team there, and they were talking about how Canada, this isn't it will certainly gain its composure again and come back. And then they were talking about the vape market and the fact that everything that we suspected was the case with these black market vapes was really the case, and that they're still seeing strong vape sales. Right.
So that's good. Now we had an earnings driven on. Sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing here. Now, Village Farms and Emerald Health are having this disagreement over the PSF payments. What is that all about?
So back when they originally set everything up, Village Farms had the big greenhouses in Delta, and Emerald had the licenses from Health Canada, and they merged together to create this Pure Sun Farm, which was a joint venture. Effectively, what you saw was Village was contributing their greenhouses, and Emerald was contributing cash in their licenses, and they would build this sort of big super house. And they've done that. The thing that's been needed to be done, though, is they've still needed payments along the way. And I guess that Emerald has missed one of those payments, and they're in default of that. And so there's kind of a messy situation between what Village says is the time frame that the payment needed to be made, and what Emerald understands the payment needed to be made. They both issued press releases on Wednesday, and both stock prices went up on it, which I thought was interesting. Like, maybe people only read one of the press releases from one company and not the other. So it's one of those things that's going to take time, and I suspect it probably gets messy before it really gets clarified. And so kind of both stocks are affected. And in the meantime, their operations are doing great at Pure Sun Farms, but it's going to be sort of muddied up with the owners of the asset.
Mm-hmm. How do you see that resolving itself?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it'll really come down to, looking at the agreement and how that agreement was structured and written. And, both sides have, I guess, their argument for it. At the, sort of the worst case, I think that, it stays where it is, right? And, if you're a shareholder of Emerald or a Village, then, you take a look and say, well, we still own 50% of it, and the company's operating well. If you, speculated and you're on one side or the other, you might think that, Village might end up with higher ownership, or Emerald might end up with lower ownership, and that's probably, the worst case scenario for somebody like Emerald, and the best case scenario for someone like Village. But, that's going to take time to really kind of sort out, and it probably ends up getting tied up in legal action, which, gets dragged on, right?
Yeah. Right. Okay. And finally, we've got Kiva has created a THC-infused gravy for U.S. Thanksgiving. That's an interesting proposition on a few levels.
Yeah, it certainly will make those Thanksgiving dinners down in the U.S. a lot more kind of interesting than they have been in the past. But the one thing that Kiva said is this was a very limited run, so it's not something that they're going to mass market. They just, I think they just did it kind of for fun. But I saw the headline and thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I think that's dangerous to have for your Thanksgiving dinner, because you're going to need a lot more turkey.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and probably Doritos afterwards.
Yeah, people are going to eat a lot more turkey, and the other thing about that, eating a whole bunch of turkey and ingesting a whole bunch of THC could also make for a very quiet Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, there might be a lot of people sleeping during the football season or football games, right?
Well, or just zoning out during dinner, because it says that they're making it with a fast-acting cannabis-infused turkey gravy. So can you imagine 2 mouthfuls of turkey and everybody's comatose?
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe that some families probably need that. I know that some families don't get along too well at Thanksgiving dinners. So
that's right. They're often tense at best.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so the whole election issue in 2020 and the legalization of cannabis. I mean, obviously the Democratic committee putting forth that they're going to support continued evolution, that's fine, but do you see the likelihood that the deprohibition federally of cannabis in the U.S. is more likely to become somewhat clearer the closer we get to the November 2020 election date?
Probably gets fuzzy and unclear, right? And that, what you see is that, no one will want to make it clear that they're against it and the other side is for it, especially with, over 65% of the population in favor of it. It's going to be probably a fairly significant election issue. And so both sides are going to be doing what they can to really, convince the voters that they're responsible for this and that that's a move that will be made on their best interest and to vote for their party. So it'll be really interesting how everything leads up to this, and also how the two parties work together or against each other to make prohibition or legalization happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the U.S. politics, from a bordering country's perspective, it's remarkable how polarized the political scene has become there. And it's like I had a conversation with a gentleman last night who said, well, don't you think that it's heading that way in Canada? And I don't think so. I think that Canada's got too much diversity, and the diversity is like from the bottom to the top, not just like in the United States. It seems like the control of the two parties is still reserved for the for the white man, so to speak, and that's not the case in Canada. So, but I mean, I don't see how they can possibly work together in this environment towards anything.
Well, I mean, they certainly haven't in the past, right? So they'll each be, fighting. That's why, when I originally said it's going to get fuzzier probably before it gets clearer, but, at the end, it will probably be, very clear once the election's happened.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Bruce, that's great. We're going to leave it there for now. We'll certainly look forward to speaking to you again next week. Thanks again.
Yeah, have a great weekend.
You too. Let's talk about Aurora. Recently, your financials, you've more or less delivered on.
Here are the headlines moving markets today.
If you're lucky to buy it 3 days ago at 37 cents.
And I think it has a lot to do with some of these smaller names giving really...
Recreational cannabis is here. It's quite dry. So I'm going to eliminate the stocky bits. This will be probably the same thing we did yesterday then, would be my guess. The color looks the same.
It might be, yeah. So yesterday was Granny's Breath?
Granny's Medicine.
Granny's Medicine, right. And what I titled this one, because we didn't know what it was, because you have 4 containers over there, was Cannatonic ? So we'll see.
I do have some Cannatonic in one of those containers for sure.
You need a label maker.
Yeah, and I need to be more meticulous with my plants, but it was a parade of errors last time. It was just, oh my gosh, it was so, it was quite embarrassing. But
that happens.
I'm kind of a careless gardener.
Okay. What's your, what are you growing in? What kind of medium, what kind of nutrients, or is this just?
Well, I grow using the Autopot passive hydroponic system in Coco Coir.
Okay.
And last time I used NutriPlus.
All right.
Next time I'm going to use Remo, and I'm going to be growing half in Coco Coir and half in burnt carbon. I can't remember what it's called. Carbon black or something.
So you've got a little R&D lab going on.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I'm always testing different things against each other.
And have you landed on something that you think has been the best for you so far?
Well, I know out of experience, and now also thanks to DNA testing, that my predisposition physiologically is towards a ratio of much higher CBD than THC. And within that sort of vague overview, it's like the more THC, the goofier I become. Well, the more CBD, the more relaxed and sociable I am.
So I have a tactic that we've adopted when we go to trade shows, because you know you're going to end up in a smoke pit talking to people, and that's where real business gets done in this sense. It's take a ton of CBD pills and oil in the morning so that it can help you manage the THC through the day.
Right. Okay, so
we're pretty much done here. I'm just taking the extract solution, going to put it in there, and we'll see what happens.
Great. Now, is this the same technology that will be used in breathalyzers?
So in terms of what? It's if you were
that law
swabbing.
enforcement is very concerned about the effects of cannabis on drivers.
Yes.
And so there is a couple of companies who have made roadside breath testing equipment that is supposed to be able to determine THC content in your blood.
Now, if you took a swab of saliva or a little pinprick of blood and the test was designed as such, it could be used for that. But as of now, I don't know what the other companies are using for their but it can be used for
technology?
Fluorescent spectroscopy.
Fluorescent spectroscopy.
Yes.
Very interesting.
So it can be used to detect any compound that we can identify. So heavy metals, pesticides, aflatoxin. If we can identify the compound and bond a dye to it, we can test for it.
Oh, okay.
And so that's a lot of what the future is looking like for us, is moving towards that contaminants.
Okay.
We got results pending.
How long till the test gives you the result?
Give it another 20 seconds. We'll see here.
And I guess you can't open this while the test is going on?
No, it's incredibly light sensitive. It would ruin the test.
Right. How much does a test cost in terms of consumables?
So in terms of consumables, doing a full battery of CBDA and THCA tests, if you wanted to do just a one-off, was $60.
Oh yeah?
I mean, we never sell them in one-offs.
Right.
No one's interested in just testing once. So obviously there's workarounds.
Right. And how can you be sure of the accuracy?
I'm not a scientist, but our scientists do an incredible amount of work and QA work, and it's every day walking into the lab and seeing them heads down working on it, and that's how.
Oh, okay.
It's not new technology. It's fluorescent spectroscopy has been around for a while, so it's all down to our incredible science team. So this isn't the same as what we tested yesterday.
Oh.
Because it's got a CBDA concentration of 7.6 and a THCA concentration of 5. So this sounds more like it could be
Cannatonic.
Yeah.
Yes, this sounds like Cannatonic.
Sun-grown Cannatonic would be my guess.
Sun-grown?
Well, the strain sun-grown Cannatonic hits these numbers from back in my days working.
The name of the strain is sun-grown. Oh, okay. I don't know the strain. I bought it from. Actually, it was given to me by friends, and they told me it was Cannatonic.
That's a decent, easy middle of the day smoking cannabis right there.
Yeah, I don't generally smoke in the middle of the day.
Why would you? I mean, on a Saturday or a Sunday, if you're going to do some gardening, read a book, go outside.
Yeah. Actually, I only like to smoke weed when I'm being social.
Right.
Now that I know that good THC or a good CBD dose with a little bit of THC makes me more social, so I have more fun with it. Anyways, that is our show for today. Thank you very much to Eric Entz and Fluorotech for providing us with this machine. If you want to find out more about this machine, go to fluorotech.com and talk to Eric. He knows it all. We'll be testing marijuana regularly. If you'd like us to test your marijuana, send us an email at midasletter@midasletter.com, and we will happily do so, with the caveat that you must certify that your marijuana is legally sourced. That's the only thing we have to insist on. Anyways, that's our show for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all Monday. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for having me.
Filthy.